it's Miss Dina, and today's activity is called Sink or Float. Okay, so today's activity can be a lot of fun, but you will need some items to do this. You will need something to cover your area that you're working with. So if it's a table on the floor, you can put like a plastic trash bag or some other kind of plastic covering. 2 large clear containers. I mean, they don't have to be clear, I guess. You can, and it doesn't have to be real big, like a shoebox size would work, I'm sure. But you're going to get 2 of them with just enough water to see whether it sinks or floats. Then you'll need 2 trays or plates labeled sink or float. And then you need a variety of objects to do the experiment with that you're going to test whether they sink or float. Then you also need a piece of paper for each one, sink and float, for the child to write their tally marks. Okay, so what you're going to do is you're going to lay out your protective covering, put your 2 containers with the water beside it, and then have your trays set off to the side for items that sink and float. So after you do the prediction and the test, then they would put that item on the right plate, whether it sinks or floats. And then you also need, like I said, the piece of paper. So you're going to put, you're going to predict. So you're going to say, do you think that this pin is going to sink or float? And they can tell you. And then you would put it in the water and watch it for a minute and see if it sinks to the bottom or if it floats. Okay? And then you can take it out and put it on the correct tray that says sink or float and add a tally mark to the corresponding piece of paper for sink or for float. So that's all you're going to do. And then you can kind of compare the items that sink and the items that float. So you try to get a variety of objects, some that will sink, some that will float, so you don't have all that sinks and all that floats. And you might be surprised, some items that you think might float might sink, and some items that you think might sink might float. So you never know. So just get a variety of objects for the experiment. Some questions that you can ask during this observation or during this activity. Did the child count the tally marks on the paper? To what number? So this is a good math skill to know, how to count tally marks. The best way I teach my children is to count by 5s. Because when you do a tally mark, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, and then the slash mark is the 5th mark. So if there's all 5 marks there, then they count by 5s, and that is a skill that they will need to learn in kindergarten. So if you start early, that is a skill that they can learn. So just start by counting by 5s, 5, 10, 15, however many, and then you count the leftovers individually. So for example, say you had 2 sets of 5, so you would go 5, 10, and then say you had 4 tally marks left over, so you would say 10, then 11, 12, 13, 14. So that 2 sets of 5 and 4 makes 14. So they can see that visual and understand that each grouping is 5, and then if there's not the diagonal mark, then you count that. Okay. Another question is how did the child grasp and manipulate the pencil to make the marks on the paper? So we're monitoring how your child's grip progresses. So a lot of times, when kids start out, they hold stuff like this, and then as they go along, they get kind of a different grasp. They might do it like this, and eventually you want that three-point grip with all your other fingers on the thing, on the paper or on the table. Okay, so that's the goal, is to get that three-point grip. And then also, how did the child investigate whether the objects sank or floated? So what did they do during the experiment? How did they react to the different items if they sank or floated? Did they try to push them down? Did they just kind of watch them? Were they really engaged? Were they intrigued by it? Just that kind of thing. So just let your teacher know how the activity went, how high they were able to count their tally marks, and their writing grip are the main 3 things that they are asking for this activity to monitor. So that is really all for this activity. I would love to hear if you do this activity in the comments below. So let me know how it went for you. And don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button below. And I will see you on the next video.